What if you are not who you think you are? Not just once, but over and over, every time you speak, feel, or choose. You show a different version of yourself depending on who's in the room, what memory is echoing through your body, or what mask you've unconsciously learned to wear. But who is underneath all of that? Before we begin, take a moment, subscribe to this channel, leave a comment if something in you stirs, like this video if it resonates, and share it with someone who might be quietly breaking inside. Because what we're about to explore isn't just psychology, it's soul work. This is about the quiet war between your persona and your shadow. About the parts of you that sabotage your dreams while whispering that they're protecting you. It's about the invisible patterns stitched into your identity, by trauma, by family, by silence. This is the crisis of modern selfhood. We chase purpose without knowing which part of us is chasing it. Carl Jung once said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." But what if the you that's making choices isn't even the one that wants to live? Imagine this. Your ego is the narrator of your life, but it often censors the truth. Your persona is the mask you wear, but sometimes it forgets how to take itself off. Your shadow is the prisoner in the basement, but it leaks into your relationships like poison. And yourself, the real you? It's not broken. It's just buried. But, what if your anxiety, your failure, your burnout are not flaws to fix, but messages from the depths of your being, begging you to awaken? What if your suffering is not punishment, but an invitation? Why do we sabotage the very things we claim to want most? Why do we chase love but run from intimacy? Why do we long for purpose but numb ourselves with distraction the moment silence arrives? The answer isn't laziness or weakness, it's fragmentation. Parts of us are pulling in opposite directions, and we don't even realize it. Carl Jung warned us, one does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. We are taught to aspire, to shine, to strive, but never to turn inward and face what's crouching in the corners. And so, the persona grows stronger, our social mask, carefully curated to be accepted. Meanwhile, the shadow festers, the rage, the grief, the neediness, the shame, all the things we were told not to be. You think you're afraid of failure? You're more afraid of what success would demand you to become. Friedrich Nietzsche said, "Become who you are." But how can you become what you've never dared to meet within yourself? Every time we choose the safe path, the familiar pattern, the easy distraction, we're reenacting old emotional scripts written in the past. A wounded child in us still thinks love must be earned, or that expressing truth will lead to abandonment. So we obey ghosts without names. This is not living. This is rehearsing. We avoid silence because silence reveals the fractures. It reminds us that beneath our ambitions, there is often fear. Not fear of death, but of fully living. To be free is terrifying, because it means taking responsibility for all the selves inside you. Not just the charming one. Not just the high achiever. But the broken one. The lost one. The angry one. And yet, until you hold space for all of them, you will remain split, longing for wholeness in a world that profits from your confusion. Look closer. That pattern you keep repeating, the relationship that ends the same way, the job you abandon right before it gets serious, the dream you sabotage just as it becomes possible. Do you really believe it's just bad luck? Or is there something in you, pulling the strings behind the curtain? Sometimes, what you call fate is just the repetition of unseen trauma. We live in loops, not because life is cruel, but because the psyche is trying to complete an unfinished sentence from childhood. The wound you ignored didn't disappear. It simply learned to speak through your choices, your addictions, your fears. You think you're running from discomfort, but you're running from yourself. The problem isn't out there. It's not the world, or your boss, or your ex, or the system. Though all those things may play a role, the deepest struggle is internal. You are haunted not by external enemies, but by the parts of you that were exiled long ago, the child who wasn't protected, the teenager who had to pretend, the adult who still performs. Gabor Maté calls it undigested pain. Pain that lives in the body, the nervous system, the unconscious, and drives our behavior without asking for permission. Carl Jung gave a name to this forgotten region of the soul, the shadow. Everything we reject in ourselves, our envy, our rage, our need, our vulnerability, doesn't disappear. It sinks into the dark, where it waits, and manipulates. Until one day, it shows up not as a monster, but as you. In a moment of sabotage, or silence, or screaming at someone you love, not knowing why. The confrontation is not with the world. It's not with politics, or with your past partners, or with them. It's in the mirror. The moment you realize, I've been calling this mask me. And maybe, the real me is still waiting to be seen. Real transformation doesn't begin with a plan. It begins with a pause. A moment of radical honesty, when you stop blaming the world and start asking, what part of me is choosing this? Not to punish yourself, but to reclaim the steering wheel from the autopilot of old wounds. The truth is, there's no shortcut to healing. No affirmation, no morning routine, no productivity hack can substitute for the inner work of facing yourself. But here's the paradox. The moment you turn inward with compassion instead of judgment, everything begins to shift. Not because life gets easier, but because you stop abandoning yourself in the process. The shadow doesn't need to be destroyed, it needs to be seen. The change doesn't come when you guilt yourself into improvement. It comes when you recognize the scared, tired, angry, hidden parts of you, and instead of pushing them away, you sit with them. You breathe with them. You ask them, what have you been trying to protect me from all these years? This is what Jung meant when he spoke of individuation, not becoming perfect, but becoming whole. Taking responsibility is not self-blame. It's self-ownership. It's the powerful realization that while you didn't create every wound you carry, you are the only one who can decide what they become. They can be prisons. Or they can be portals. So the question isn't, how do I fix myself? The question is, am I willing to meet myself fully, even the parts I've spent a lifetime avoiding? Because only in that meeting, begins the return to the self. You are not one thing. You are not a single self, frozen in time. You are a constellation of stories, wounds, masks, desires, and forgotten truths. And the journey isn't about fixing who you are, but about remembering who you were before the world told you who to be. So today, don't try to change everything. Just notice. Watch how you react when someone criticizes you. Notice the stories you tell yourself when you feel unworthy, unseen, or misunderstood. Observe your silence. Maybe it says more than your words ever could. Are you ready to stop running from yourself? Then sit with the discomfort. Invite it in. Let it speak. Because maybe, just maybe, what you've been calling pain, is the first sign that your soul is waking up. If this reflection spoke to you, let it echo forward, leave a comment sharing what resonated most, like this video to expand the message, and share it with someone who needs to remember who they are beneath the noise. And now, watch the video that just appeared on your screen. It might be exactly what your soul needed to hear today.